Your baby reaches for one specific person in the room, and it's not random favoritism. It's something far deeper, far older, and far more important than most parents ever realize. Think about this moment. You're at a family gathering. Grandparents are there, aunts and uncles. Everyone wants to hold the baby. But the moment someone who isn't mom, or whoever the primary caregiver is, reaches out, your baby twists away, reaches back, and starts to cry. The room laughs a little awkwardly. Someone says, "Oh, they're a little clingy today." Another person says, "She's got a favorite already." And you feel a mix of pride and guilt. Pride because your baby chose you, guilt because you wonder if you've somehow made them too dependent. Here's what most people in that room don't understand. What they just witnessed isn't clinginess. It isn't favoritism. It isn't a personality quirk or a bad habit you accidentally created by holding your baby too much. What they witnessed is one of the most sophisticated psychological processes in human development, a process that neuroscientists call attachment formation, and one that literally shapes the structure of your baby's brain for the rest of their life. Let's break down what's actually happening. In the 1950s and 1960s, a British psychiatrist named John Bowlby proposed something that was considered radical at the time, that babies are not born as blank slates who simply need food and shelter. He argued that babies are born with a biological drive, a deep, hardwired need to form an emotional bond with a specific caregiver. Not any caregiver, not just whoever is nearby. One specific person who becomes what Bowlby called the primary attachment figure. This person becomes, in the most literal neurological sense, the baby's external nervous system. Bowlby's attachment theory, later expanded by researcher Mary Ainsworth through her famous strange situation experiments in the 1970s, revealed something extraordinary: how a baby attaches to their primary caregiver in the first year of life creates an internal working model, a kind of emotional blueprint that influences how that person will form relationships, handle stress, and even regulate emotions for decades to come. This isn't poetic language. This is structural neuroscience. When your baby reaches for you over anyone else in the room, they are not being spoiled. They are executing a survival strategy that evolution has refined over hundreds of thousands of years. Here is the science behind why one person becomes primary. In the first months of life, your baby's brain is undergoing explosive development. At birth, the brain contains approximately 100 billion neurons, but most of the critical connections called synapses haven't formed yet. They build in response to experience. Specifically, they build in response to repeated, consistent, emotionally attuned interactions with a caregiver. Every time you respond to your baby's cry, every time you make eye contact during a feed, every time you soothe their distress, your brain and your baby's brain are doing something remarkable. They are synchronizing. Researchers at Princeton University, led by neuroscientist Uri Hassan, demonstrated through neural coupling studies that caregiver-baby brain activity literally aligns during moments of connection. The regions that activate in your brain during a responsive interaction activate in your baby's brain too, with a short delay, as if your brain is a tuning fork and your baby's brain is learning to match the frequency. This synchronization is not equally distributed across all caregivers. It builds preferentially with whoever is most consistently present and most consistently responsive. That person, the one who shows up time after time, who learns this particular baby's particular cries, who reads the subtle shifts in facial expression before the meltdown happens. That person becomes encoded in the baby's developing limbic system as the source of safety. The limbic system is the emotional core of the brain. It includes the amygdala, which processes fear and threat detection, and the hippocampus, which handles memory. By around 4 to 7 months, your baby's amygdala has learned to associate your face, your smell, your voice, and your touch with a specific neurochemical response, the release of oxytocin and the downregulation of cortisol. Your presence literally turns off the stress response. No other person in that room does this automatically, not without the same history of consistent, attuned care. This is what Mary Ainsworth discovered through her famous strange situation experiments. Securely attached babies protested when the caregiver left, calmed at reunion, and quickly returned to exploring their environment. The caregiver functioned as what Ainsworth called a secure base, a place the baby could always return to for regulation before venturing back out into the world. Alan Shore at UCLA has shown that this pattern is not just behavioral, but neurological. Secure attachment literally shapes the structure of the right hemisphere of the brain, the hemisphere responsible for emotional regulation and social cognition. When a baby has a secure primary attachment, the orbitofrontal cortex, a region critical for emotion regulation, develops more robustly. When attachment is disrupted or inconsistent, this region shows measurably different development that can affect emotional regulation well into adulthood. Here is the big twist, and this is the part that should make every parent exhale with relief. When your baby clings to you, when they cry the moment you hand them to someone else, when they refuse to be soothed by anyone but you, that is not a problem you created. That is evidence that you did something extraordinarily right. Your baby is not clinging because you held them too much. They are clinging because you were consistent enough, responsive enough, present enough that their developing brain classified you as biologically irreplaceable. You became their safe haven, and a baby who has a safe haven is not a dependent baby. Research consistently shows the opposite. Babies who form secure attachments with a primary caregiver in their first year are actually more willing to explore, more comfortable with strangers over time, more socially confident, and more emotionally resilient. The security doesn't create dependency, it creates a launch pad. The secure base frees the baby to be curious about the world precisely because they know, at a deep neurological level, that if things go wrong, they have somewhere safe to return. Now, here is the deeper meaning, and it's important for any parent to sit with this. Every time your baby reaches for you across a crowded room, they are not just choosing you, they are demonstrating that they have built an internal representation of you, what attachment researchers call an internal working model that lives inside them even when you are not physically present. This internal model is the foundation of every future relationship your child will ever have. It shapes how they will seek comfort as a toddler, how they will navigate friendships as a school-age child, how they will handle conflict in romantic relationships as an adult. The research of Mary Main at UC Berkeley showed that a person's attachment classification in infancy, secure, anxious, or avoidant, correlates significantly with how they form relationships as adults and how they parent their own children. Attachment is not just developmental history. It is an intergenerational transmission. When you respond to your baby today, when you show up with consistency, when you read their cues, when you repair moments of misattunement, you are not just soothing a crying infant. You are literally writing the first chapter of how this person will experience love for the rest of their life. There is a soft but important note for caregivers navigating complicated circumstances. Attachment can form with more than one person, though it is typically hierarchical. If you are a working parent or share caregiving with a partner, this does not prevent secure attachment. Research has shown that what predicts attachment security is not total hours with a caregiver, but the sensitivity of that caregiver during interactions. Even a few deeply attuned hours can build secure attachment if those moments are warm, responsive, and consistent. And if you ever feel like you have missed moments, made mistakes, or been less available than you wished, attachment theory has an important concept for you: repair. Ruptures in the caregiving relationship are inevitable. What matters is whether the caregiver returns, acknowledges the disconnection, and reestablishes safety. Edtronic's Still Face experiment showed that even 2-minute periods of a caregiver being unresponsive caused significant distress in babies, but also showed that babies recovered quickly and fully when the caregiver returned to normal, responsive interaction. It is not perfection that builds secure attachment. It is the rhythm of connection, rupture, and repair repeated again and again that teaches your baby's nervous system that the world is fundamentally safe and that relationships can be trusted. If you notice that your baby does not seem to prefer anyone, that they do not show any protest when separated from their main caregiver, or any specific comfort when reunited, it may be worth paying closer attention to the quality of caregiver-baby interaction in their environment. While some variation in temperament exists, complete absence of attachment behaviors by 6 to 9 months can sometimes signal that consistent, responsive caregiving has not been reliably present. It is always worth discussing these patterns with a pediatrician or a developmental specialist who can provide proper evaluation in context. Your baby looking across a room of faces and reaching specifically for you is one of the most profound things a human being can do. In that single gesture, arms up, eyes locked on yours, the body tilting toward you before the hands even fully extend, your baby is saying something that no language could yet carry. You are my safe place. You are the person my brain has chosen to learn safety from. You are the first relationship and the one that all others will be built upon. So, the next time someone calls your baby clingy, smile, because what they are really witnessing is a baby who has learned to trust and a caregiver who earned that trust, one consistent response at a time. Comment below. Does your baby have a clear favorite person in your family? How does that make you feel? Share your experience. You might be exactly what another parent needs to read today.